Thank you. As Mark said previously, he and I were both at the meeting until the bitter end at 1 o'clock. Tara was also there. Those ordinances were zoning ordinances that will affect certain areas of town, specifically on Mount Campbell and Liberty Green, where there's proposal to put in very dense development. I have always opposed dense development in Morris Township. You need development, you can't stop development. But we didn't move out here, I don't think anybody in this room moved out here to live amongst the dense development like those that are being proposed. So I stood up at the mic and asked a lot of questions. I think the only person at this dais who stood up and asked questions on behalf of the public. I'm fearful of the zoning ordinances that were put in place because they state certain density, and once they're on the books, it's going to be hard to step back from that. I am very fearful of putting those on the books. The Mount Kimball density has already been put on the books because the vote passed. I think we should have found a better way to spread out the development across the community, like I said before, and make those areas less dense.
Mr. Faulkner.
So I was not at the meeting. I was on a business trip, but I got a recap of it. So what I'd like to comment on is the Mount Kimball ordinance. So where I think you see an example here, there's two issues, right? I think what you've seen is affordable housing is a very sensitive issue to a lot of people, right? I don't think anybody here would debate the spirit of affordable housing, but the way that it's been chosen to be implemented in this township is very problematic because there's been no input from anybody other than the ordinance and passing it through. The biggest glaring issue that I see, in addition to what's been said, is the lack of communication with our neighboring towns, right? Splendid isolationism did work for America pre-World War II. It's not working now when we completely envelop a town. No communication with Morristown when half of that property resides in Morristown is extremely problematic. And we need to start mending those fences with not only Morristown, but the other towns around us if we're going to continue to develop smartly and in cooperation with our neighbors.
Mr. Jorfi.
You've heard what Dan and Jeff had to say about what the ordinance were. What I got from that meeting is that the majority on the township committee lacks leadership. There's no reason why residents should have to stay to that meeting till 1 a.m. to fight for the opportunity to have their voice and to tell the township committee about their concerns. If the township committee was serious about doing these developments, they would have provided a forum for residents to go in, sit down, talk about their concerns, work out issues, and then vote on it at a later date. That's something that's incredibly important to us, transparency in open government, being accountable and letting citizens be accountable. Because I know Dan and I have no issues with proposing a plan to residents and taking their input seriously. And that's something we need to do, and that's something Dan and I will do moving forward.
Ms. Olivia Moore.
One of the things that happened at that meeting was the Mount Kimball ordinance being passed. And what's remarkable about it is that at no point was the community invited to offer other ideas for that property. So at no point was anybody able to say, hey, let's put a park there, let's put a soccer field there, let's put a baseball diamond there, let's use this really old forest for green space, for just enjoying nature. That's a very old forest, and people should be able to enjoy it for the beauty that it provides and the nature and the trees. And yet, at no point was that even considered. And I'm sure that there are many residents who would have liked to see those possibilities for uses.
Yes, for 30 seconds.
Thank you. So the question was about the zoning ordinances that were passed at the meeting, and the answer seemed to have turned into an issue about communication, which I think everybody agrees that the communication in Morris Township is terrible, has been terrible, and needs to change. Kathy Wilson's helped us by putting the meetings on TV, and that is a great first step. More communication is needed. But the issue here is zoning. I spent 2 years on the planning board. I know all of the zoning rules. I have experience zoning. I voted against a lot of dense developments in the past when it was 8-1 on the planning board, and I was the only one voting against. It's the same issue here with zoning, and we need to work better at zoning our town.
Anyone else? Okay, then I...